Morning, everybody. A very pleasant good morning, and welcome to another edition of the Morning Briefing right here on NoFilter.net, Caffeine TV, various other platforms as well. The expansion of the distribution of this thing, it's a monster. I'm Jeff DeForest along with Mike Lubie Lubitz. Very happy you guys are tuning in on what is an historic day, not only in American history, but certainly in the history of the state, the often backwards, hillbilly, deliverance oriented state, squat down like a pig of Florida. Because not only is it Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th, which we recognize, all of the servicemen, we salute you. Thank you very much for your service, without which, who knows what treachery. I mean, we're under attack constantly, it seems like, Luby, at this stage. I mean, even through your own home computer, all of a sudden, boom, it shuts down, and you're getting all kinds of bizarre terrorist messages that are being applied subliminally, and you don't even know yourself anymore. They've taken control of your brain. Big Brother is here. So thank you to all of our servicemen for that. But is it coincident? Is it perhaps an ironic parallel, Luby, that on Pearl Harbor Day, the day the Japanese dropped bombs on Pearl Harbor and attacked the United States of America and ignited our presence into World War II? Unbelievable. Just an unreal bloodbath where so many lives were lost. And it coincides with the day that sports betting became legal in Florida. As we said, this is a hillbilly state. I mean, you drive 10 miles outside of West Palm Beach, you're in Yeehaw Junction.
Yeah.
So we've been backwards forever when it comes to these sort of things, especially dealing with what seems to be an issue that is conjured up to be considered evil by the people in Tallahassee, where the laws are passed here and where all legislation has to be considered in this state. I don't know what it is. I mean, when I moved here, Luby, and I don't know, did you experience this? I think this law had changed by then, where you couldn't buy a beer on Sunday until 12 o'clock. The blue laws, they called them.
It exists.
This is what we were being ruled by.
Yeah, it was weird. When I was in college, I remember going, because we would drink Saturday and Sunday. We drink all day. I mean, it was FSU. So
yes, so you could be having like 20 people coming over to your house for some kind of barbecue celebration. They're going to arrive at 12 o'clock. You're in the store, and if you're unaware of this law, they tell you you can't buy like any alcohol until 12 o'clock. For what?
I don't know.
To preserve your image in the eyes of God? I don't know. What would have been the point of that? So we've been asked backwards on this sort of thing forever in the state of Florida, and it's no surprise that it's come up under some really fugazi circumstances, that today is the day that people can officially roll into the Hard Rock Casino and Hotel, which will be the only place that you can do it, and place legal sports bets. And how many years behind the times are we? They've already raked in billions of dollars in New Jersey, eclipsing even the overall take that people have wagered in the state of Nevada, for God's sake. It's been a home run everywhere. And, of course, we held back on this thing because there had to be some unscrupulous, scandalous deal made in a clandestine meeting place between the Seminole tribe of Florida and our esteemed governor, Ron DeSantis, which is the one thing I think Donald Trump has been right about, in his denouncements of this particular individual, calling him sanctimonious. I don't even think that is fair. This man is the devil himself. Really is. I mean, you look at him, he is Niedermeyer. Going over to Animal House and saying, guess what? You've all been expelled. I mean, this guy is a raving and raging maniac. So it happens today, and we'll see what kind of influence it has. They also opened up, I don't know why craps and roulette, two casino games, were deemed to be any more negatively influential on the degenerate gambler than blackjack or some of the other card games that are there, which, let's face it, aside from blackjack, craps, and roulette, any new game that a casino has ever introduced, for some reason, is never particularly favorable to the player.
Oh, yeah.
Caribbean stud poker, stuff like that. I mean, they have all of this, 3-card poker, wild Mississippi stud, games that you can't even understand. And so, they're just raking your money off the table. Those were fine forever, but now they're bringing in craps and roulette, which craps gives you, I think, the best house odds of winning. It's the lowest house percentage in terms of advantage, unless you play like an asshole like I do and want to bet the hard ways all day. They send limos for guys like me. So we'll see. That all gets started today. It's going to be a huge influence in the state and also maybe in the sporting world as well. We'll see how it all transpires. But finally, after like 50 years being behind the times here, sports wagering of some form, still misunderstood by a lot of people. Nobody really knows all of the parameters or guidelines, but it's happening in the state of Florida today, and it's about time in this hillbilly state. That being said, I don't know. You're boycotting, and I've decided, Lubie, I'm going on a hunger strike to see how long I can go without eating and see if it also coincides with the number of days that I can go without talking about this screw job, this complete fucking of Florida State that took place with the college football playoff committee. I don't know what more you can add to that, except that it's an insane thing. So you start thinking, what other sports, are happening right now? Later on today, we're going to be doing a radio show. You can catch it on the Tony Bruno Sports Network. That goes from 10 to 12 Eastern. And we're going to feature our hockey expert, who happens to be a guy who owns a restaurant whose sister is married to Roberto Luongo. Those are his qualifications as a hockey expert.
He played hockey his whole life. But I don't think they'll care about that.
Well, the stuff he comes up with is the kind of dirt that you would really want to know about hockey, which is a sport that is very much out there on the occult when it comes to its following. Because you could be talking about hockey now outside of like a handful of people that actually know what's going on in the sport. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on in the NHL. Do you? No. Right? We were talking about the New York Rangers resurgence under Mike Lavalette, who has taken over as the head coach for a guy that we were familiar with in South Florida, a coach named Gerard Gallant. And Gerard Gallant has the distinction. This guy does a great job everywhere he's been. He was a head coach with the Las Vegas Golden Knights in their expansion year. He gets them to the Stanley Cup final. Like in year number 2, they fire him like 2 weeks later. He has the Florida Panthers, and they're doing great. And they left him. This was the most undistinguished dismissal I've ever seen of any personnel, front office or coaching in the history of sports, where he's on the team bus on the way between like Calgary and Vancouver. No, it was on the East Coast. It might have been like Ottawa to Winnipeg. And they fire him while he's on the bus ride. And the final image that we have of Gerard Gallant as the head coach of the Florida Panthers is what, Lubie? They throw him into a snowdrift. They had Jaromir Jagr on the roster at the time, and he's yelling, he's screaming out the window, "Hey, Jerry, you want your stuff?" They left him there in Saskatchewan somewhere. Is that anywhere near Winnipeg? And Ottawa? I don't know. Because nobody knows anything about hockey. What's going on in hockey? The Bruins are good this year, so you can have any kind of an expert on a show, and it wouldn't make any difference to anybody, because as long as he sounded authoritative, well, that second line of the New York Islanders, they're really not up to speed. They're going to have to do something at right wing there. Otherwise, it's going to tap into their depth. And, we know they've been depleted by injury. Nobody knows what you're talking about. Could you not say anything, Lubie? You could give a dissertation on hockey, and I would imagine most of our viewers, most of our listeners would have, like, no dispute with it whatsoever. Whatever you said, they would think you were freaking Don Cherry, for God's sake.
No idea. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. So most people, I would think, have zero, especially this time of the year with college football working itself into a bowl season that doesn't matter.
But we can't talk about that anymore. I'm going to not eat until we can bring it up.
NFL being in, the NBA had their Fakakta tournament. Like all these take precedent. Even baseball with their trades and their hot stove league. Hockey is like way down the list this time of the year. I guess in March, April. Maybe, after the
No, it's a great game. I don't mean to demean it at all. I'm a big hockey fan. I love watching it.
I don't care about it.
But I'm just saying that if you had a hockey expert on a show, if we decided to drop a guest into this program and we had a hockey expert on, who would know if he was saying anything that was relevant or not, that even had the slightest foundation in truth? Nobody would know. As long as he sounded authoritative, everybody would think, yeah, wow, man, they had that hockey guy on. He told me the Bruins were going to lose their next 16 games. I tell you what, I think I'm going to start wagering in that fashion now that it's legal in the state of Florida. But hey, and then the other thing would be the baseball winter meetings used to stimulate a lot of conversation. I guess they did now because the Yankees are trying to go back to being the Yankees again. And that is they realize they have one advantage over the other teams. They have all the fucking money in the world. They're the Alabama of Major League Baseball.
The SEC, yeah, Alabama.
Yeah. You see, too, now what's going on? This is kind of interesting, just an aside here, because Rutgers, for some reason, is the guy's name Steve Pickell or Pickiel, something like that.
The
The
coach.
coach there, he was at Stony Brook. He did a great job at Stony Brook. Took them from like a 4-24 team and took them into, I think, a position in the NCAA tournament one year. So he gets a job, and that doesn't seem like that much of an elevation, does it? How far down the totem pole is fucking Stony Brook if
I
your
don't know how to
big
pronounce
step
Steve
up in class is Rutgers?
Pickiel? Steve Pickiel? Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that. No
Yeah,
way.
I'm going to say, how about like Edie Pickell, or a singer? Why don't we call him Steve Pickell? All right. It's a lot easier. Even if his name was Pickiel, he should just change it to Pickell, man. Holy Tony Dorsett. What are we talking about? This is one of those guys that you're pronouncing his name incorrectly, even, as you're talking to him. And he doesn't bother to correct you. Like a lot of people always thought my name was Steve for some reason. I mean, are you going to really correct Angelo Dundee after he's been calling you Steve for 20 years every time he sees you? No. Hey, Angelo, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah. What do I care what he calls me? Just happy he even knows, that I exist. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this guy signed like some giant recruit yesterday. He's got the number 2 and 3 recruits in the country going to Rutgers.
Oh, 2 and 3? Oh, I saw the number 2.
2 and 3. Yeah, he got another guy to commit. But the guy committed while he was at the Fanatics sports apparel headquarters. Also inking, as he was signing this scholarship offer, also inking a lucrative deal with Fanatics.
Heck of him.
Chaos, my friend. Total chaos going on in college basketball, and I would imagine in football as well. Because when did you ever see starting quarterbacks that were with teams that were ranked in the top 5, like Ohio State, decide that they were leaving?
Cam Ward is an NFL caliber guy. He's like in his 4th year transferring. DJ Uiagalelei is, I think, in his 4th year, was an NFL somewhere caliber guy transferring. It's friggin' weird. It's just weird.
Amazing, right? Then I saw some guy transferred, and he's in his 7th year of eligibility. I know he had the wacko system. What the hell is going on there? It's incredible. So in New York, they've been bitching and crying and moaning about the Yankees. Last year, they went 82-80. It was an abysmal failure for New York Yankee fans and any standard. What's that?
Last in their division, which was like a first in decades.
Imagine that, right? The Baltimore Orioles are winning the division.
Yeah.
Holy Earl Weaver. What are we talking about? Tupac coming out of the bullpen there to shut down, the opposition after walking the bases loaded. when he came in with nobody out, start the frame, right? What was that guy's name? Was it Stanhouse? Was Tupac Earl Weaver? They called him Tupac because Earl used to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes during the inning that he was working. It was great. So the Yankees, I mean, I've been sort of watching the build-up to this. They have 2 targeted. I know a lot of people are looking for Cody Bellinger to move. And there used to be a lot of movement at the baseball winter meetings. I was just reading a lament of a friend of mine on social media saying, well, the baseball winter meetings, nothing happens there anymore. Scott Boras is controlling all of baseball, the sports agent, and there's nothing of any great significance. Because I remember I was all excited when I moved to Florida in the early 80s, Lubie, 1981. And I believe like the next year, the baseball winter meetings were here. And I couldn't wait to go cover this stuff and get quotes and speculate on trades and things like that. But you don't see a lot of that anymore. Although we did know that the Padres were going to have to unload Juan Soto, who I'm going to ask you point blank here. Is Juan Soto overrated? Or is he just a solid to upside good player who didn't really produce the kind? I mean, are these monstrous numbers now? 275 hitter. He knocked in over 100 runs. He hit 35 homers. I guess those are numbers that are worthy of any superstar. Is that right?
See, wouldn't use that word. I think he had a nice year. I don't think he had a bad year, which is what for a while there it looked like he was having.
He was hitting like 230 for a lot of the season, wasn't he?
He turned down $400 million with the Nationals.
Yes.
He turned down some ridiculous ass number that would have put him in the top 5 or 6. He's not that. So yes, he's overrated because he turned down the kind of money I don't know if he'd get now. I guess the Yankees, since they traded for him, may open up the wallet, but that's nice. Those are nice numbers now. Those aren't great numbers. Those aren't.
It's not overwhelming. Yeah.
No, they're not.
Good ball player, you would have to say.
Yep.
I mean, maybe by today's standards, that's outstanding. Maybe I'm very much behind the times. So. Yes, you are, old man. Because I still think batting average is a big barometer of whether or not a hitter is successful, and nobody seems to give a flying one about that. Nobody gives a shit about batting average anymore. A guy hits 220. Dave Kingman would have been, a $600 million player.
Yep.
All or nothing kind of guy. Strikes out 200 times, hits whatever, 40 home runs. And so you sacrifice that for his 197 career average. He's not even above the Mendoza line. I think Kingman might have hit 222, but he was very inconsistent.
It was bad.
Soto's better than that. But does he make the Yankees? Now he's going to be teamed in the outfield with Aaron Judge. Judge probably moves to center field. And the Yankees still have this one more piece that they're trying to put together, and that is this Japanese pitcher who's supposed to be some kind of phenom, right up there with Shohei Ohtani. And but he doesn't hit. I mean, his name's Yamamoto. And everybody, they're falling all over themselves. The Mets are. I mean, Steve Cohn is over there. He's got like bags of cash he's ready to give for Yamamoto. And the Yankees have targeted this guy because their pitching sucks in general. Outside of Garrett Cole, what do they have? They have nothing. You've got nothing. So they're all excited about this. Does this put the Yankees in the category of A, being the Yankees again because they're willing to spend money? This is also a deal they consummated by sending a bunch of pitching prospects to the Padres, who some baseball experts, there we go, are relying on an analyst again, right? We just said that in hockey, you could have anybody on. They could say anything, and nobody would know whether to dispute it or not. Is it that way in baseball, too? Is it all bullshit? What do you think? Because the consensus was of the one article that I read that the Padres didn't get much back, that they weren't able to snare the Yankees' top prospect. He was probably deemed untouchable, all Elliott Ness. And that what they got back in return for Juan Soto, who's going to probably walk into free agency next year, regardless of what he does with the Yankees. There's a little possibility, I would think, that the Yankees are going to extend the contract with him during the course of the season. And maybe he just loves it in New York. Soto seems to kind of crave the spotlight a little bit. He wasn't necessarily getting that with the Nationals, even though, was he with them when they won the World Series, Juan Soto?
Yes, that was the thing. He played freaking great, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was like a key catalyst in their World Series, and then he got offered a big deal, and it's like, no. He wanted to set the standard, and then the next year with the Padres, he was abysmal. And then last year, I guess he came back to earth, but he wasn't like an MVP.
No, I mean, good acquisition, no doubt. If the cost was minimal in terms of the talent that you had to export to the San Diego Padres, fine. Padres are in a situation where they shoved all in money-wise. They had Manny Machado. They had many other big stars on their roster and weren't able to really do much. In fact, they were not much of a factor last year at all.
No.
The San Diego Padres. I mean, meanwhile, the stinking Diamondbacks ended up in the World Series and busted up our chances of.
The Marlins and D-backs were bigger factors for most of last year than the.
Imagine that. So all the money in the world. We'll see if it works. I mean, but the Yankees are back to doing their thing. Brian Cashman, I mean, what a genius as a general manager. Let me go spend the most money for players that are never going to possibly live up to whatever, relationship there is to the money to production. And then we'll, go ahead. And if it doesn't work, we'll just go get more of these guys. It's great. Anyway, so we'll see what happens. But at least that was something. And we did it, Lubie. We made it through a morning briefing without much mention of the screw job. That should just forever be known in sports as the screw job, the scroogey, where the college football playoff system has thrown the sports world into just a psychotic frenzy. And we managed to avoid it. So if I don't eat for 2 days, Lubie.
Wish you luck.
Yeah. Can I do that? Or would it be more likely that I break the whole thing by talking about the college football playoff system?
You probably do it. I don't know. I wish you luck.
2 days. That's all I want to do. I want to not talk about the college football playoff system. And in conjunction with that, I mean, hunger strikes in general don't work, do they? That Navalny guy tells the Russian prison guard, hey, I'm not going to be eating that crap. And he says, cool, you die then soon. Right? I mean, they don't care. I mean, hunger strikes, when it has a hunger strike actually worked. Been a long, long time, right? I mean, if ever, a hunger strike, what do you think, Libby? Would you go on one just to avoid talking about a topic on a sports talk show?
No, not at all.
I still like the image of Gerard Gallant, the coach, being stuffed into a snowbank somewhere. Maybe we'll bring that up with he might know something about that, Reno, when we talk about it on the Tony Bruno Sports Network. All right, that radio cast is coming up 10 to 12 Eastern. If you want to join us for that, Tony Bruno Sports Network. And happy you signed on here for this edition, a rambling edition on a celebrated day. Gambling begins. Legalized sports wagering. The first, people have been betting on it, though, already. How fugazi is this? But officially, you can go in person to a casino and bet on sports. Today is the first time. Play craps and roulette as well in the state of Florida. December 7th. Coincidence or not, Lubie? Pearl Harbor Day. Are they dropping a bomb in the laps of all degenerates here in South Florida? I believe that answer might be yes. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, a.k.a. Lubie, I'm Jeff DeForest, and we're happy to have had you with us on today's edition of the Morning Briefing.